I think it's funny and tragic as a libertarian that the Democrats have actually seated a ticket that is worse on criminal justice reform than Law and Order Donald Trump. How did that happen?
Well, it's infuriating. I'm pretty mad about it, honestly. And you're so right. It's become so performative. Criminal justice reform is popular. Every time we poll it, it polls well on both sides. It's something people genuinely want. You see people being voted out of office for not being as informed or active on this issue. This is something that really works with the general public. And so to see people in Washington, D.C. at the federal level using that as a way to be performative and make people think that they're, on their side. As you were pointing out earlier, a lot of people want to be informed. A lot of people do care about issues, but they simply don't have the time to dig in. And so for the Democrats to tell them, this is something we care about, Black Lives Matter, we're leading on this, and then to put up Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, I don't think the average American knows those two people's background on criminal justice reform unless you're like me and you live and breathe this stuff every day.
Well, in fairness, I'm not sure Joe Biden remembers his record on this, but
he might not. He might have genuinely forgotten. Kamala knows what she did, though.
Yeah, she knows what she did,
and the DNC knows what they did, and so to me, it's highly disrespectful to so many people that are genuine in this, that are putting their money where they, want to see action, that are really trying to affect change in our society for an important issue. I think it's embarrassing to me, our criminal justice system. It's a mockery of our foundational principles. It's something that I think in 100 years people look back and say, how did you let that happen? We look back at all these other horrors in history and think, who were the people just sitting on the sidelines letting this occur? But it's a lot of people in this country. And so they're complicit in that. And it reminds me of, the stuff with Bill Clinton and the Me Too movement, where you recognize very quickly they don't actually care. They're just trying to use this as a talking point to rally voters and then do nothing about it. And so that's something that I see on both sides. That's why I've really given up on the two main parties. I don't trust them at all. But Kamala's record, it actually isn't special, is what's significant about Kamala's record. She's a former district attorney. That is the main opposition to criminal justice reform in this country. People always say, why don't you get more bills passed? There is one organized group in every state capital that is spending a lot of money to block almost any kind of criminal justice reform legislation that comes up. And it's the district attorneys' conferences or unions or whatever they're called in each state. So she was a part of that crew. And then she went on to become an attorney general. She's gotten a lot of criticism for blocking DNA evidence for being tested for a death row inmate in California who was potentially innocent. That happens every day. People don't recognize just how difficult it is when you have a potentially wrongful conviction in the system to get it worked out, to get new evidence tested, to get a new trial, to in any way. They think the appellate process is doing that when it's not. It's kind of just checking on procedural things. It takes outside groups, typically like the Innocence Project or others working pro bono, to come in and really force some of these things and move them. So what she did is interesting to me because it's not exceptional, but people were aghast about it. When Tulsi called her out during the debates, which I thought was an amazing moment, most people had no idea that was her background. And so I am happy that that's been exposed, that people are sort of recognizing the hypocrisy there, because it is a really huge flaw in their ticket. But I don't think they'll pay for it. And that's what's the most frustrating thing.